Okay, Burak, Emre, can you hear me? I think we can start. We have a good audience together with us. If you can also hear me, I think we can start.
Yeah, I can hear you. Let's start.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning or afternoon to you all, depending on wherever in the world you are, from the beautiful city of Istanbul, which has a very nice winter sunshine today after a few days of heavy snow. So that we are very happy we are seeing the sunshine back again. Welcome to our webinar today named The Messaging, New Highways. I need to tell, we are very humbled to see we have such a wide audience from all over the world. Thanks a lot for joining. I hope you will find the session insightful and will enjoy the discussions today. I would like to run today's discussion as an open discussion between our panelists. And at the end of the session, I am planning to run an open Q&A session. During the discussions, if you have any questions or comments, please write it into the chat box so I can see them and can divert to our panelists at the end of the session. First of all, let me start by introducing myself. My name is Utku Öz. I am a partner in Istanbul office of Arthur Deladel Management Consulting Company. I have been management consultant for more than 15 years, and during this long journey, I have worked in telecommunications and banking clients all over the world, mainly serving on the topic of advanced analytics, creating value out of data. So, Emre, Burak, be ready for challenging mathematics questions today. Okay,
sure.
Enough about me, because we have two very valuable panelists today with us, Emre Erdem and Burak Akıncı. Let me pass the word to them to introduce themselves. Emre, can we start with you?
Yeah, sure. I'm Emre Erdem. I am now managing the whole international and wholesale business unit in Turkcell Group. Also, I have an executive role in Lifecell Ventures, where we mainly focus on cooperating with operators and value creators all around the world on our digital capabilities.
Thank you, Emre. Burak also.
Hello, everyone. I am Burak Akıncı. I'm in Turkcell company for 15 years. I have telecommunication experience more than that. And in the recent days, I have been appointed as the general manager of BIP company. So today we are very excited of running the BIP.
Thank you to both. Emre, Burak, our headline for today's discussion is Messaging the New Highways. The reason I have selected this name is I know you have a quite different perspective on the future of the communication industry, and you are working to revolutionize how the telecom companies work. But I won't start from the operators part, very frankly speaking. I want to go back to the root of the case, to the customers, so that we will come to telecom operators later. And on the customer side, I know everybody knows that there's a very big digitalization trend going on. Everybody is talking about customers being digitized all over the world. And every company in the world is running after these so-called digital customers. I want to start with a very basic question. How do you see the customer of today? How are they digitizing? And what is changing in their life? How do we define the digital customer as Lifecell Ventures? Maybe, Emre, we can start from you.
Starting from the consumers and individuals is maybe a right approach. And there are two angles to this question, to be honest, from my point of view. One is, in fact, nothing is changing. They are always asking for more services, more solutions, and they are always eager. They need them. More importantly, they want services. This is the fact that this is the place where, in fact, there's nothing changing too much. But also there's a big change. And that big change is they are always asking and trying to have new experiences in a more frictionless way. And that itself is an encouragement for entrepreneurs and, of course, operators, companies, or any startup to surround customers with many services and many touch points. And digitalization is, I think, more on that front, is changing the world we are living in nowadays. So customers surrounded with all these new experiences, new services, or the new methodology for the services, we are observing more and more micro level or more customized experiences for each customer. And this becomes, on one hand, a very enhanced experience. On the other hand, it becomes confusing. So lately what we have observed is consumers and individuals are searching for more of integrated approach, more let's say ecosystem of solutions for themselves to not only answer their needs and wants, but also do it in a way that is very efficient, very coherent for themselves. So I think they are looking out for these in the new term, and that's going to be a main driver in the coming 3 to 5 years.
Thank you, Emre. Interesting. Surrounding the customers with the services, but what I'm hearing is basically also to integrate these services to each other to build an ecosystem, so that the ecosystem is some sort of a magic word that every consultant like us, every company is using. And very frankly speaking, everybody believes in it, but at the same time, as you are mentioning, it is very challenging. So could you please a bit elaborate more on the ecosystem that you are thinking on? What do you really mean when talking about ecosystems? What is needed to establish it? Because very frankly speaking, as a consultant, I cannot see many successful examples of ecosystems who can really surround the customers with new type of services.
That's a fair point, I guess. I mean, it is not, I have to agree, it's not easy. And I also agree that different angles and approaches are tried out. So it is obvious that not all the angles will be successful out, but my point is maybe comes with the analogy. So how, at least I see these ecosystems is much like houses, and all the experiences we try to create is like rooms. We usually, the ideas come not like a house, but a room. So we create a room, an experience center, or a solution, or a service. And in itself, it's very successful, or in itself, it is the idea is very shiny. But what we do is we expect customers to own it, to take part in it, decorate it, if you will, if we go through the same analogy. And then it is excellent as long as they live in that room. But the problem is customers really want to be in different rooms, right? They want to experience differences. And I think the biggest challenge in this ecosystem concept is the corridors that are connecting these rooms. So how easy can a customer switch between one room to the other room? And when we talked about these corridors, and I mean, from my point of view, and to come to the subject for today, is I see the most probably one of the best solutions for these corridors is like the communication platforms. They seem to be a very strong candidate to become the connecting part among these experience rooms and become like a underlying infrastructure for these services, and become the underlying infrastructure for this ecosystem. That's at least how I see.
Interesting. The reason that I am saying interesting is because, very frankly speaking, I am working with more than tens of different telecommunication companies, and all of them are interested in building adjacent services in order to continue revenue growth. But what I'm hearing from you is also a different perspective, because what we are proposing is basically, as a communication provider, we need to take part in taking consumers to these services. The metaphor about corridors that you are doing was quite interesting. And as far as I understand, you are trying to position messaging apps for this purpose. Can you please a bit elaborate on how messaging apps can be really the corridors which are taking the customers to the rooms that they want to go in? Maybe Burak, I don't know, we can continue with you as the general manager or the CEO of the BIP.
Sure. Continuing from Emre's analogy, as telco operators, we were very okay with being the infrastructure provider of the house, and we were thinking ourselves as we just laid the electricity cables, and people are free to come and build a new story up or make another room available. And then we realized that we were missing out a lot of things, and then we started adding some rooms ourselves. Telcos started to invest in financial services or smart home solutions or travel services, whatever comes to your mind. I'm sure a telco is thinking or has already invested in some kind of a new room to the house. But now, when we talk about the corridors, we are not only talking about our base stations or our fiber cables that we have invested as the infrastructure. With the messaging apps, we see that there is a bigger opportunity where we can utilize our own infrastructure, and on top of it, we can create value for the customer. Because when you think about the messaging app, it's one layer above the infrastructure that we give to every other service provider. But on the messaging app level, you have a huge engagement with the customer, and you have the opportunity to invent the way the experience is handled. So we think that when we think about reinventing, I guess it will be, reinvention will be on the messaging platform side, and creating the rooms and the way you reach those rooms will be the key.
This is getting quite interesting, frankly speaking. Reinventing, because this is a very big word. Reinventing the communication with the messaging apps. I understand that you are putting a high role to these apps, not only messaging, voice or the video calls like we are using today as the consumers. Can you please tell a bit more about what do you really mean by reinventing the communication? What will these apps do in the future?
Sure. First, there is the natural evolution of the communication, let's say, apps. They started with messaging apps, but now we are talking about communication apps, because it started just the replacement of, or a better version of, SMS, and then we added on voice calls, and then we added on video calls, and then group voice calls, now group video calls, and it has a natural evolution in itself. But with this evolution, there comes the problem of interoperability or interconnection, where we have now different silos of different communication apps, which is a very difficult thing to come over. But in BIP, we have been investing on this. Maybe I can tell you later about that. But when we see the natural evolution and the interoperability problem, and on top of it, we see that once you make a communication platform very convenient and very hugely utilized from everybody in, for example, in a country, the interest of the businesses come, and businesses want to utilize the platform itself. So there is a way the platforms see themselves as either a super app or a communication app, which is two different sides of a line. But what we say is that there is an opportunity for us, for BIP and for all the other operators who wants to join. We can see a potential in between. We are saying that it is possible to create an environment where the users feel flexible, feel free, feel respected, and enjoy the possibilities of a interoperable, commonly used platform by the service providers. So the corridors that we are talking about will give the users the basic needs of a communication app, plus parts of a super app that they want to use. And that will be their flexibility and freedom.
Inspiring. The reason I'm saying it inspiring is basically what you say is that the messaging apps in the future won't be only messaging apps between the consumers. I will be able to get many services. It can come from companies, it can come from government, or any type of service. Either I can go to their app with the messaging app. So I understand. So what I understand, maybe going back to what Emre said at the beginning, it will be a set of services surrounding customers, but the starting route, the corridors that you are mentioning, is the messaging app. But this time, as a consumer, I am getting a bit scary. The reason that I am getting a bit scary, it gives me the feeling that I am being controlled too much, because if I'm using your app and if you can provide all these services, won't you control me too much so that you can take me to any room that you want?
Yeah, definitely. Privacy issue and the controlling issue is very critical. So in recent days, it has been a buzz about that too. So it's a good time to talk about that. Maybe when we think about privacy, it is definitely the most important thing that the service providers should respect about the users. And of course, there is another side of it, is that you need to reach to the data of the user to give the best experience that you can. So in recent days, we have been criticized for asking a lot of permissions to reach from the users of BIP. Then we explained it. We said, to give you the best experience, of course, we will need to access to your photos, access to your microphone, access to your location. But the thing is, we need to express ourselves clearly that why we need it. We have to be 100% transparent that we are using it, and that's why we were getting these permissions one by one in the beginning. And thirdly, it's very important to be transparent of how we use it. And of course, sharing of that data is the most critical part. So I see from my point of view, from now on, usage of this data will definitely be transparent and up to the decision of the user, which is, I think, the freedom of the user. And we will be, our most important priority will be on the respect that we show to the preferences of the user. On the second side, the regulation is very important. Of course, we believe that a very well regulated sector in telco is that, but we know that in social media was on the opposite side, and we have seen some drawbacks or problems on that. When we talk about the messaging, we believe that regulation is needed, especially on the data privacy side. But what we have to do is we need to focus on how to equally handle all the users all around the world, how not to discriminate, and how to keep our word that we will respect the privacy of the users. I guess this is the most important part.
Thank you, Burak. So that the privacy is very important, but what I'm hearing again is basically you need to get the permission from the customers and you need to respect the customer privacy at the highest end in order to keep the customers in your platform. But this privacy side at the same time brings another discussion to my mind about, as I have mentioned in the beginning, I'm an analytics person, so that the data monetization. For us, maybe it's some sort of a bad news because we won't be able to use the data of the customers to do some sort of analytics work on them. But this time, again, it makes the question mark, it brings the question mark to my mind. How come the main challenge of the telco operators today is stagnant revenues? They cannot grow in terms of revenues. And as far as I understand, what we are proposing is that instead of looking into the communication side through this messaging app, what we are saying to telecom operators, reinvent the communication, become corridors that take people to services, not only facilitating communication between each other, but how will they do money at the end of the day? Because, okay, there are lots of revenue targets, EBITDA targets at the end of the day. And the story that the telco industry needs today is a new story which will help them to reignite growth in their revenue base. So do you believe that messaging apps has this potential?
Definitely, we do believe in that because maybe not in the short period, but in the mid and long run, definitely there is a huge revenue potential other than the data monetization side, because from the beginning it depends on the business model. We know that huge user bases created value for the services that they own. So that's why there has been a lot of merger and acquisitions on the social media side just because of the active users, and it depended on the data that they had. Our business model depends on the corridors itself and the transactions that will go over those corridors and the connection that we will be creating for the businesses, whatever it is. I don't know yet, but we know that even now we have hundreds of channels working on BIP, from content services to Ministry of Health, trying to deliver the fastest service to the people. We see hundreds of channels and services provided by third parties on BIP platform, which is creating a volume. So when we become the most used app in a country or top 5 of those apps, we definitely know that there will be a huge transaction going on these platforms. So there will be a revenue we have made out of it just because of the ownership of the platform. On the second hand, just different angle, we know that security communication is very critical for corporations now, and we see a huge demand coming from the corporations for closed group usage of BIP infrastructure, which is a very big potential market in different countries. And when we think about keeping the data on the grounds that they have been created, all these regulations passing through to keep the data on the soil of the country, we see a huge potential there going forward from mid to big size corporations. So when we think about the revenue streams that we will be making, it will be from the end user or the service provider that reach to that end user. Secondly, from the corporations and from the corporations that are going to be seeking more and more private, secure, high quality communication within themselves.
Thank you, Burak. Very
Of course,
valuable.
I just wanted to add one thing while Burak
Sure.
mentioned on this, because that's very important. I mean, the reason we have cooperating with operators all around the world on this aspect was mainly because of the way we look into the business case, as Burak mentioned. Operators can become a transaction base for their consumers, which basically Lifecell Ventures is for, to enable that, to share this capability. The second is every corporation, especially on the high-end corporations, more on the strategic level corporations are becoming aware that they need their own messaging platforms among their users, which is controlled by them. Their data, all the media, or the documents that is shared have to stay in their own, let me say, areas. And all around the world, telcos also became an enabler for their corporations to access such services. So these two angles that Burak is mentioning is not only a reason or a belief that we have for BIP, but it is also something we cooperate on, and we see that other countries is going to replicate and other countries are asking for. And I think this is very important, what Burak mentions.
Thanks a lot to both, Burak and Emre. So I totally understood the overall entire theory behind, so that the messaging platform, as the name of this webinar, it's the new highway which are taking customers to the services, and the service providers need this. And if we can resolve, and as far as I understand, you have solid plans to resolve it, the privacy and the data monetization challenge, it can be a very good fit to overall telcos agenda for the future. But let's deep dive a bit into the practicality of this. What are you doing as Lifecell Ventures in order to help telecom companies to accomplish this vision? How they become really the corridors of the customer, and what type of services do you provide to the telecom operators in order to run after this vision? Maybe we can start from the BIP side first as the messaging platform. Later on, we can jump to other services that you are providing.
BIP is usually a facilitator. As Burak mentioned, when you start this, you cannot take revenue the first aspect of the evaluation. So BIP is more of an enhancer, more of a road in between. And before you have certain volume or certain ecosystem, as we started discussing, you cannot take the communication platform and evaluate it based only on the revenue. But how we do BIP is in different angles. Some operators really need a fast go-to-market solution, and they need collaboration on BIP. But it's a very simple collaboration. So they wanted to own some channels also within BIP, because already BIP is strong in their country. Some operators are they clearly know how much of their existing users are using BIP. So they wanted to become a part of BIP as an OTT. So they don't specifically go on a clear messaging, let me say, strategy, but just wanted to become and use on own, as we say, they wanted to own some rooms. They wanted to have some corridors connecting these rooms, and they wanted to take the first step. And usually we see this as the first step. And some of the operators have more advanced approach to that. They wanted to have a more cohesive, more coherent experience. As Burak mentioned, they wanted to take this solution also to their corporate customers, which is a different mindset. This is more of a B2B solution. And then they have to become like themselves have to become like a enabler for their especially corporate customers. But this is only one part of the business. What we do as Lifecell Ventures is, okay, take customers who's using personal storage service. So Lifebox is our product, but in 32 countries in Digicel, they are using the name as Billo. So they wanted to create a personal storage service. That's experience, and that is also something that you can create and then connect your customers with your messaging app towards these other solutions. And what we do in Lifecell Ventures is we have been investing maybe starting from 2014 into our digital solutions, more than 5-6 years now. So we have a bouquet of solutions starting from messaging to the personal storage, music streaming, or OTT TV. So all kinds of range. Not necessarily every operator have the need for all, but they need certain aspects. They already got some, and they are missing some. And the greatest opportunity I see in the operators are they usually are lacking how to connect these together. And that is where basically Lifecell comes in, feels if there's some missing experience that the operator asks for, we put it there, and then we make sure we have the connections either with the online action platforms or messaging or communicating platforms. That's basically how we answer their needs.
Very clear, very clear. Thank you, Emre, and thank you, Burak. So as we are closing to the end of the session, very frankly speaking, it was very insightful and inspiring to me. The reason that I am saying is that basically what I'm hearing is that as Lifecell, you are trying to build a vision which is built on top of a messaging app, which changes the way people communicate, but you are also trying to complement this messaging app with new services, which can also bring incremental revenue at the short run. So indeed, there are two aspects of the Lifecell that I'm seeing. So we are closing to the end of the session. Indeed, we have 20 minutes left. I want to jump to the Q&A session if you don't have anything to add. And let me check if we have any questions, or sure. Please, for the attendees, do not hesitate to ask any questions when you write to the chat box. Please write very hard questions so that I can divert to Burak and Emre. So we can also respond to attendees' questions as well.
Sure.
Just give me 10 seconds so that let me check the chat box. Okay, now I am seeing one question about the privacy. Maybe that's one of the things that
that's Burak's question.
Okay, Burak. So very practical one. So that after the WhatsApp's license agreement change in the privacy, especially out of European Union, what type of different trends you see in different markets in Asia, etc.? Did you increase your subscriber base, or both in terms of number of subscribers? But the attendee, let me not give his name, is also interested in basically what type of behavioral changes that you are observing on your platforms.
Yeah, let me try to explain. Definitely, we have seen a huge increase in our user base. We passed 75 million downloads, and at the end of January, we are over 30 million monthly active users. And we see that the trend is not only coming from Turkey and the other major countries that we have been acting, let's say, but other than that, we see huge trends coming from Indonesia, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and today, as of today, Indonesia has become our second biggest market that we see the users. Before that, we had users from Europe and from Caribbean region, hence to our partnership with Digicel. but the region of Indonesia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Malaysia region has rose a huge steps and became the second, third, fourth markets of BIP. On the behavior side, of course, we saw the huge messaging increases, but with the pandemic, the most popular service of BIP is group video calls, which we offer up to 10 people, which with HD quality. So people really boosted the usage of group video calls, and it increased maybe 10 times or 12 times higher, just to comparing with December numbers. And on one level higher, why this kind of thing happened? When we talk to the customers all around the world, we see two very important aspects. First one is the way it has been done, and you have to give this permission, or else you won't be able to use the app, which people really didn't like. And the second one is the different approach, different countries, has really hurted feelings of people around the world. So that's why we believe the biggest move came from the countries that I said, and including Turkey. I think this two aspects of the action taken in January had the biggest backlash.
Okay, thank you. We have another question, maybe towards you, Burak, but Emre, you can also complement about data monetization strategies. What type of, not data monetization, what type of different monetization schemes that you are planning to launch in the future? Are you asking for monthly subscriber-based fees, or are you making big agreements with the operators? So that, what type of monetization schemes do you apply for your services?
I think Burak can only answer for BIP. I can answer for a wide variety of services. To be honest, there are really different monetization strategies for different services. For personal storage services, it is very simple, very straightforward. Every provider on that front is using the same. So you have a basic entry level where customers are invited into the service, see the differences, see the beauty of the service, which I believe in services like Lifebox, features like AI-enhanced image processing and recommendation engine, which makes a good sound for young people to choose their social media photos out of their, let me say, a wide range of their photos is something that they enjoy. And then for the high level packages or high level storage areas, they have to join a subscription. So that is the monetization model for that service. On the streaming services such as music and TV, obviously there is a subscription model. I mean, there's a basic level where free content is there, but there is a subscription model where the premium content is coming in. For BIP, maybe Burak will be complementing my comment, but on BIP, we are not focusing on monetization over data or monetization through ads. We are more, as we described, we are more focusing on collaboration with the operators, trying to become a transaction center for the customers and willing customers. I mean, the important thing here is you should not force any service towards the throats of the customers. But there is companies in Turkey who wants their ticketing services through this app, because this is a digital platform and it's easy to use, and there is lots of customers already in it, and it's an easy way to reach the customers. So there's a transaction there. The financial transaction is another subject. Some premium content, which some commentators share their views on the channels, but these are premium contents. These are important, let me say, content creators, which, like all around other content subjects, their channels are subscription based. So to Burak may complete on top, but what I see is our strategy on the BIP is not focusing on data monetization or data manipulation or using it for advertisement, more to become a service center for the customer, become a highway for the customer.
Yeah, I totally agree with Emre. While we were designing BIP, especially on the infrastructure side, since we are also a telco, we knew that what we needed. We knew that we had to be able to keep data in Turkey, the Turkish users' data in Turkey. Maybe 5-6 years we have been telling about the importance of data. So we created a special design where we can reside the data of a country on that country's soil. If someone wants to go that way, our infrastructure definitely supports it, and we are thinking about the way that how to go in that direction. If it's okay for the operator or for the company to go as the OTT, our infrastructure is also supporting it. And in Jamaica, for example, today, BIP is launched last year, and we have more than 1 million users there who are using BIP and have customized services for themselves. And on top of it, Digicel made integrations to the network side so they can make app-to-network calls. So being an operator gives us a huge opportunity where we can handle the interconnectivity between the app and the network. So think about an app that is supported by the operator, which enables you to make app-to-network and network-to-app calls. On top, you can use it as your CRM channel. On top, you can put local channels, either free to create engagement or premium to create revenue. So there is a huge potential to create engagement, to create value out of user base, plus to create revenues on the transactions that can pass through the platform.
Burak, I think also we should not forget about the gamifications. I think one of the successful things that some operators are doing on the platform is their gamifications and some of the channels that they have attention. It is not a premium content, it's not subscription based, but there is a service which turns into a revenue. It can either be an upsell channel or it can be a service channel where you engage with your customer and your customers is willing to be in that, let me say, enhanced environment where they can play and enjoy. And then there is also a new stream for the operators. But certainly the good thing about these kind of platforms is the flexibility. You have, I mean, I don't think any operator or country's model will be 100% accurate for the other. So every country, every culture has to create its own path. The important thing is these kinds of capabilities are flexible enough to entertain such different angles. I think this is the important part.
Thank you, Emre. Thank you, Burak. One final question, an interesting question. I don't know if it is some sort of a commercial secret. You don't need to comment, but one of our participants is asking, also expressing that he loved your expressions, saying that, are there any solid plans to collaborate with the MNOs in Pakistan?
I mean, certainly we were very clear about this subject. And we were in discussion, to be honest, we are in discussion with some parties, and if this participant, if we should be in touch with him and miss that opportunity, please write us down. We see a growth, as Burak mentioned, there is a huge interest, not only from the consumer side, but also on the MNO side and other entities, also from different entities, towards our solutions lately. And to be honest, this is a very clear strategy for us in Turkcell. We always been, even the first day, we design our infrastructure to be able to do cooperations. That's what Burak mentioned. I mean, our design philosophy comes with, we are an OTT. We are very happy to be a very strong OTT. Let's not forget that. But if there is an opportunity for coming with two strong operators collaborating and increasing this pace and creating more value, because what we said is we have to create rooms. Otherwise, it's not going to mention anything to the customer. So we are very clear that we cannot do all these rooms by ourselves. And what we ask from the operators is, if you are willing to invest in these rooms, then the platform, then the corridor, then this highway is willing to cooperate with you. That is what we say, in any way or manner. It can be in the OTT side, it can be on the multi-cloud side. So the infrastructure is there, the willingness is there. The important thing is, okay, the other willingness is important. Let's discuss these rooms. Let's discuss what we are going to create for the consumers, for the customers. I think our message is very clear on that sense.
Okay, thank you. We are closing to 10, so that we need to close. So indeed, thanks a lot. Very inspiring. First of all, congratulations for all the work that you have done on building Lifecell, starting from BIP on Burak's side and additional services that you have built. But more importantly, I believe that for myself and for the participants, the vision that you are currently building on top of it is much more exciting. I think that in the future, we will see a revolution in the telecommunication industry. And the vision, I believe, looks to me the most striking path that the telecom operators need to follow. Good luck in your journey. So that's all I can say.
Thank you very much.
Anything else?
As Utku, some of the participants ask, if they need to ask anything, get in touch. If they don't, I mean, they can get in contact with us in our LinkedIn or in any social media, or info@lifecellventures.com. There's a contact us button there. Our team is reviewing it very frequently. So if anybody thinks that we should be in discussion with them, we are missing them out, then definitely drop a mail. We'll be in touch with them immediately.
And I also want to thank you everybody for participating. Utku, for your hospitality, let's say, and Emre for your support. And we will be happy to answer all other questions offline after the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was great, Utku. Thank you very much. Burak, nice to see you again. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot, everyone.